Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray you're all well. Okay, let's start. Al-Fatiha. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. As-sirata al-mustaqim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا من فضلك علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا وأكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا أرحم الراحمين ويا أكرم الأكرمين ويا ذا الجلال والإكرام. Okay, Bismillah. So we've got to the point where it's staying in Egypt is untenable. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gives the command to Sayyidina Musa to take Bani Israel out of Egypt, and this was the intention all along. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, this was the purpose. So that Sayyidina Musa was sent for, to guide them and to guide them out of whatever issues they had, to belief in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and good deeds, and to guide them out of this tyranny that they were experiencing, to freedom, right? And this you'll see, this is an interesting ayah. Let's look at this ayah. This is in the beginning of Surah Al-Qasas, um, where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said, وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Right? And but it was our will to favor those who were oppressed in the land, making them models of faith as well as successors. ونمكن لهم في الأرض ونري فرعون وهامان وجنودهما منهم ما كانوا يحذرون, and through them show Fir'aun, Haman, and their soldiers the fulfillment of what they feared. So what's being said here? So this is a commentary on the events of the life of Sayyidina Musa in Egypt after his return from Madian. And this is what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said, that it was Allah's design to نريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض. He wants to grant this huge unthinkable favor to those who were treated badly, treated as though they were weak in the land, and they were oppressed, right, and downtrodden in the land. And you'll find this, right, it's the way things go, right, that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala sometimes tests people with the opposite of what He wants their end state to be, right, of the good. So obscurity before influence, weakness before power, right? These sorts of things. So some of the writers have said that things are hidden in their opposites, that the end result is hidden in the opposite. So you'll find that sometimes a lot of difficulty before a lot of ease, and this is one of the gifts of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, as it prepares people, it tests people. Um, the same thing, even like some of the ulama have mentioned, um, people who go to study knowledge, that there's a period of time where you're tested. Many people are tested with poverty, for example. I was speaking to one of my teachers, and he said when he was studying, um, he had a classmate from some country, very wealthy individual, but even he was tested with poverty. How? His parents were constantly, they were supporting him, they were sending him money, but at times there were problems with the money exchange. He had to go for long periods of time without any finances, right? These sorts of things. And so it's part of the whole process that that gives people the requisite skills to be able to fulfill the end role in the most effective way. And this is a gift from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So he said, he wanted to um, show his favor to those who are oppressed in the land, and to make them a imma, plural of imam, And it doesn't just mean the person who leads the prayer, it means someone who is looked up to, someone who can be followed in their actions. And just generally, it's you can also understand it to mean someone who understands how to navigate life in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees, sees as being good. And this person navigates his life, and others can look to him and aspire to be like him, right? So I mean, you could have, for example, you could have an amazing scholar, like for example, say someone of the caliber of Imam Ibn Hajar al Asqalani, and he could just be locked away in a madrasa, basically teaching um, and writing works, and that's a huge benefit for the ummah, right? They benefit. And then you can have someone else who does this, but he's out there, and um, people are able to benefit from him, on a practical level as well as just from a theoretical level. And there's benefit like that as well, right? So this is an imam, someone's out there, right? And وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ imama, the dua that we make, and makers of the an imam, right? Of the leaders of the righteous, so you embody their qualities, a fortiori. So, and then he says, وَنَجَعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ, and we want to make them the heirs, right? The heirs of the land, meaning people who, after a previous dynasty, or after a previous group of people who were in power are gone, these people come next, and they are given the opportunity to have, superiority and dominance in the land, and to see how they will act, as Sayyidina Musa said, right? And he also wanted to show Fir'aun and Haman and their troops, what they were afraid of. What were they afraid of? That they were concerned we lose our power, we lose our authority, and it's going to happen from one of the Bani Israel. So let's just kill all their children, kill all their male children. That was what they were worried about, and they're the steps they took. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said Allah had other plans, and He wanted to show, just what you're trying to avoid. You can't escape what Allah has planned, right? You can't escape, you know, um, what lies ahead of you, right? It's kullu atin qareeb, as the Arabs say. Everything which is coming is close, whether it takes 10 years or 20 years or 50 years, it's close because it's certain to happen. That's the understanding. So what happened? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ أَسْرِ بِعِبَادِي إِنَّكُمْ مُتَّبَعُونَ. So there are a few ayat, paraphrasing this, but let's just look at this one, from Surah Al-Shu'ara. And we revealed, and we inspired Moses, saying, leave with my servants at night, for you will surely be pursued, right? And so he said, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Musa, revealed to him. And Asri comes from the word Isra. So Sara or Surah is when you travel at night. And Isra is when you take someone on a journey at night, or you take someone and make them travel at night. In other ayat, بقطع بقطع من الليل, in a part of the night, right? Not the so the point was, go at night where obviously people are asleep, you know there's not many people about. It'll be easier under the cover of darkness, you can get away. So the whole point was to get them out of Egypt in a way, and in a time frame that is quick, and it's easy to manage. And how many people left, Allah knows best, right? Allah knows best. We don't have the exact figures. You'll find in some of the narrations from that were taken from the Bible and other non-Muslim sources. Sometimes the figures are in like the hundreds of thousands, right? And those figures do seem a bit far-fetched, right? Especially people who the persecution that they went through. Slaves, how long did people live in those kind of environments? They've had their male children killed for God knows how long. So it's the population is going to be depleted, right, of Bani Israel. That is true. It might still have been in the thousands, but it's not in the hundreds of thousands. Allah knows best. The Islamic sources don't really touch on the actual figure. So he was told to leave, right? So it's quite possible. Speak to people. Look, your lives are at stake. You need to do this quickly and quietly, and to prepare it, plan it for a few days, and then when the day comes at that particular time, everyone's gone, right? And so it's, it's quite easy, right? So take my servants, be ibadi, and that's very interesting. There's care and concern, um, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inaya for his servants. There's a special care for concern for his servants. And these people, they were with the prophet of their time, the prophets of their time, and they were supporting the prophets of their time. No doubt some of them were righteous, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he doesn't like oppression. As we saw in the narration, Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu bainakum muharraman fala tadhalamu. He said, my servants, I've made dhulm, wrongdoing, haram for myself, and I've made it haram for you. So don't wrong each other, right? And so he, eh, and when, Allah has mercy, Allah has kindness, right? And so when he sees people in this situation, he rescues them, right? He takes them out of these situations. It might not happen immediately, because, for certain, goals and plans that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to bring about, but it does happen. So, he says, take my servants, right? uh, and then he says, innakum muttaba'un. Indeed, without a doubt, there's no changing this. You are going to be followed. You are followed people, right? Ittaba'a. Um, so the difference between mutba'un and muttaba'un. So the first mutba'un, which is not used here, comes from tabi'a. Muttaba'un, which is used, comes from ittaba'a. The difference is, for example, if I said, okay, I'm going to travel to London, right? And someone decides to follow me. So if he knows I'm going to London and I arrive in London, say, 5 hours from now, and he arrives, say, 8 hours from now, he might take a different route, right? I might go the motorway, he might take a different route. And so he's followed me, right? So he's got to the destination that I've got to. Ittaba'a, so that would be tabi'ah. This is ittaba'a, like he takes the exact same route. Wherever I go, he goes, right? And these people are going to be on your case. They're going to be following you, and all the way, right? With intent and purpose and effort and planning, and with all their might and main, they are going to be following you. So it's very important to see, understand how this goes. So just the level of worry as well, like these people were slaves. You have to understand the slave um, mentality, the mentality that a slave gradually takes on, right? After being pounded and pounded and pounded by humiliation and oppression and just violence and all these things over such a long time, uh, the people develop a mindset where you'll always get the few individuals that will rise up and rebel, and their anger helps them, but most people are just quelled and subdued, right? So there's this mindset that, what if they catch up with us, what are we going to do, so there's that general fear that's happening, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do it at night quietly, to make it easier for them as well, although they'll still be concerned. Don't just march out the front gate, so it's done at night, it's done in secret. So what happened? فأرسل فرعون في المدائن حاشرين. So Fir'aun sent mobilizers to all the cities, meaning he found out straight away, right? So let's see. إن هؤلاء لشرذمة قليلون. I like that word, شرذمة. قليلون. Yeah, وإنهم لنا لغائظون وإنا لجميع حاذرون. And so he said that these outcasts are just a handful of people who have really enraged us, but we are all on alert, right? So let's just look at it. So he said, فَأَرْسَلَ فِرْعَوْنُ فِي الْمَدَائِنِ حَاشِرِينَ. So this second time where he sent people out to go get people. So obviously in the capital, you might have enough people to guard um, guard the palace and just to police the area. So but to go and chase a large number of people, it's, you need a larger group of people, larger army. And it's very possible because Bani Israel, they were slaves. What did they own, right? Not much, right? So they're going to be going on foot, right? So in the early part of the night, so they left, and they're going to be traveling on foot. There's enough time for Fir'aun to find out. People going around the city, he might have found out a couple of hours later. Fine, go send people there, then send people there, nearby cities, like conscripts. Go get the soldiers, go get people, bring them back. Being the superpower, there'll have been resources, horses and other forms of travel. So this is what he did. So he sent people out. Go bring these people here. Remember the first time he sent people out for the magicians, and now he sent people out for soldiers. So he said, Inna ha'ula'i. So indeed, ha'ula, this group, right? It's also, there's tahqir in this, like he's addressing them as though they're worthless. He's speaking about them as though they're worthless, right? La shirzimatun qalilun. Shirzima, originally the word means small, like a small group, right? And then, uh, but that's not intended here. What he means here, like, is use the word um, outcasts. He's talking about what he means by shirzima is they're a group who are not united. They're separate in their mindset. They don't have this mindset that we're all together, we're supporting one another. They don't have anyone to support them. There's no political power looking after them. They have no allies, and it's just a, a, a group that is almost though disjointed is coming to mind. So that it's a group that don't have any real unity of purpose, and they can't band it together, and there's no one else to help them either. That's what they are. And they're qalilun, they're few, right? So, compared to the populace of Egypt, they're going to be few, right? And compared to, the army that Fir'aun can, muster in this time, they're few. They're easy to deal with, right? So he's making out as though that they're worthless, like, they're inconsequential. But then he says, وَإِنَّهُمْ لَنَا لَغَائِظُونَ, and they are enraging us. غَيظ, the word ghayb is like a type of intense anger, like rage, that manifests when someone does something in front of you. As for ghadab, you can just get angry for, and you can recall something, and it can just mean getting worked up and just angry. But rage is really intense. And he said, and they are enraging us. So part of this is because he's lost control, right? And when people lose, when people have to, like tyrants, when they have to have control over every aspect of things, if things go out of their control, they can't handle the situation. So he's getting angry, right? And these people are getting angry with him, his mother, the elite, again angry that, look, they've dared to defy us in this way, leaving Egypt, right? So what's the first thing that comes to mind? Right, we need to reinstate the status quo, bring them back. They have to be with us. They have to, we have to have them under us, right? So then he said, وَإِنَّا لَجَمِيعٌ حَاذِرُونَ, and we, all of us, we're all concerned, right? And we're wary, right? Why these people, they could do some damage to us. They could go, they could, well, firstly, there's a damage that's going to happen to their economy, because there's a damage that's going to happen to their lifestyle. It's based on slavery, right? And if you look historically, where slave, like, in the America, in North America, in other places, in Europe, when slavery was rife, people, it was a lifestyle, right? And people needed their slaves, right? Because of the way they set their life up. Imagine tomorrow saying, okay, right, no more cars, right? How many people would resist? It's like that. Here, they have this issue now, because if these people leave, they lose so much, they lose so much wealth, they lose so much productivity. It's going to affect them. So, so Fir'aun is showing that, so we're concerned over this. We're going to go get them, right? So then what happens? فأخرجنا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us brief commentary on what happened to Bani Israel, what happened to them, right? Fir'aun and co. So this is in Surah uh, الشعراء, but there are similar verses in Surah Al-Dukhan. فَأَخْرَجْنَاهُمْ مِنْ جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ. And we took them out. We lured the tyrants out of their gardens, springs, gardens, وعيون وكنوز ومقام كريم كذلك وأورثناها بني إسرائيل. So we lured the tyrants out of their gardens, springs, treasures, and splendid residences. So it was, and we awarded it all to the children of Israel. So what does it mean? فَأَخْرَجْنَاهُمْ مِنْ جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ وَكُنُوزٍ وَمَقَامٍ كَرِيمٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we took them out of their gardens, their lush verdant gardens, right? And springs, lots of water, especially in hot countries, you know. It's very important. And وَكُنُوزُ مَقَامٍ كَرِيمٍ. And their treasures and their great, you know, the best living accommodation that they have. All of these, you know, the best environment they were in, you know, the luxuries that they were in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said we took them out of there. So here he's used the word Lord, as in that's why they, you know, they left and they went to follow Bani Israel, which is a possible understanding. Or you could also understand that Allah said we took them out of the meaning we stripped them of it, right? And they died, didn't they? And so we took that, right? وَأَوْرَثْنَاهَا, no less than in that tremendous way. وَأَوْرَثْنَاهَا Bani Israel, and we bequeathed these things to Bani Israel. It doesn't mean that the properties of the people of Egypt were then given to Bani Israel. They weren't, right? What it means is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these matters, these things, the like of which was given to Bani Israel when they moved to um, when they moved to Palestine, the surrounding areas, the, the like of those things were given to them as well. So once they left Egypt, they didn't go back. We know that when they left, that they carried certain things. They took. Um, there are ayat that indicate, it's not expressed explicitly. There are ayat that indicate that Sayyidina Musa gave them permission to take some of, you know, the gold and all these things that Bani Israel that the Egyptians had. Right? You could say, isn't that theft? No, right? What's theft is that you make a person work from, you know, dawn till dusk as a slave and then not pay them anything, right? And you enslave them and you enslave their families, and you know, so like a recuperation of losses. There's an indication about this. We will come to this later when we talk about the cow, the golden cow that was made. So you know, so another thing that they took the bodies of their prophets, right? So the body of Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam and Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, these bodies were taken. And it seems like, as we said, there were a few centuries, maybe 3 or 4 centuries between Sayyidina Yusuf and Sayyidina Musa. It seemed like there weren't any other prophets in this period, right, for them. So they took these two bodies. How do we know that? Because they're buried in Hebron, right? They're buried with Sayyidina Ibrahim and Sayyidina Ishaq in Hebron right now. So that's what they did. They took their bodies, and so a large group of people can carry things like this. Uh, so they left. So they left for the sea, right? So what happened? Now, فَأَتْبَعُوهُمْ مُشْرِقِينَ. So they followed them, they pursued them at sunrise, right? So these people have been traveling all night, and they catch up to them near this body of water, right? So the Quran uses the word bahar, right, which is normally translated as sea. But the word bahar in the Arabic language can refer to any large body of water. So a big wide river is a bahar, a lake is a bahar, right? So, you know, the biblical term, he split the sea, or, you know, those, it's not necessarily a sea. And I believe it's the Red Sea. So if you're looking at Egypt, where it is now, um, you know, if you go further west, you've got the Red Sea. It wasn't that sea, right? It wasn't the Red Sea that was it's in all likeliness, it was a lake. It was a large lake that was in their path. So where they were fleeing, the direct route to, because they were going up towards Sinai, weren't they? Right. So, which is not where the Red Sea is. You know, you don't go this, you know, long-winded route for nothing. So they were going towards Sinai. So there was a large lake, and so it's called the Bahr, right? And so they're going in that direction. So Fir'aun said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Fir'aun and his people, they followed them, mushriqeen. Mushriqeen comes from the word shuruq, which is the rays of the sun's light. So early morning, as soon as morning came, they were following them. فلما تراءى الجمعان قال أصحاب موسى إنا لمدركون. Look at this panic. And when both groups, and the two groups came face to face, I'll explain this shortly. Uh, the companions of Moses cried out, "We are overtaken for sure." Moses reassured them, "Absolutely not. My Lord is certainly with me. He will guide me." So what happened? So they followed them, and Fir'aun and co, you know, these people are, they might have set off in the night, or they might have set off towards sunrise, but in the morning they're on their tail, early morning, just after sunrise. فَلَمَّا تَرَاءَ الْجَمْعَانِ, when both groups not came face to face, when both groups saw each other. So Sayyidina Musa and his people, they're here in front of this lake, this body of water, and behind them they see that Fir'aun and his people are there behind them. So they're obviously going to be coming on horses, carts, you know, chariots, so, you know, a means of transportation, and they're catching up to this large group that are traveling on foot. And obviously, they're not going to leave anyone behind, so they'll be going at a pace that everyone can manage, the old people, the young people, children. So they're going to get, you know, they're going to get caught. And so these people, they panic, complete panic, which is not you know, understandable, right? قال أصحاب موسى, they said, "Inna lamudrakun." Right? Indeed, we've been caught up, right? You know, they've caught up to us. And although the way they expressed it is that it's already happened, because they were so sure it's going to happen. So Sayyidina Musa, he says, "Kalla, stop. Get this idea out of your head. Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. With me is my loving Lord. He will certainly guide me." Now, this is, you know, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he's seen this in action, right? He's seen it when he left Egypt to go to Madian. Allah took care of him. Allah took care of him there, you know, gave him a family, gave him occupation. He's seen that Allah was with him in when he went to Fir'aun, and the miracles, you know, were granted to him. He was with him in the incident of the magicians. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told him, go towards the sea, do this. And he's not told exactly what's going to happen, but he's sure and confident in of himself. Allah is with me, meaning Allah is going to support me, help me. We won't be the losers today, right? Allah will take care of me. And this is an important point. Sometimes when you are going through these difficulties, what do? Look at past, if you want tawakkul and you know, these things, look at past incidents where um, things seemed impossible and Allah took care of it. And everyone's got these things in their life. I don't, you know, everyone has, right? You might forget them or seem, you know, but you know, there are many situations where you think, you know what, I'm going to be in trouble, or I'm going to get into some problem, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just takes care of it. And one just came to mind for me. When I first went to Damascus, I had no idea what I was doing, right? I just went there, got my passport stamped, and went off. And a friend of mine had, you know, you know, asked a few of his friends to, you know, help me find a place or whatever. So they said, "Oh, you need to go to the if you're gonna stay more than a month, you're gonna need to go to the police station, get the visa extended and whatever." And I had no idea of how important it was. And so I was there for a few months. I didn't go. I didn't go, and I had to come back to. So I came back to England, but so on the day, well, like um, I had no money. Right? I had a plane ticket. I didn't have enough money to buy another ticket. That's for sure. So anyway, I got to the airport, And I'm like smiling away and give the guy my passport, and he looks at me. He's like, "What's this?" I said, "It's what?" He's like, "You're supposed to go to the police station within a month of coming. Basically, you've been here illegally." And I was like, "No, I didn't know," or well, I didn't lie, but like I was like, "Look, I didn't understand, the whole thing, the whole process." And he's like, "I'm going to send you back to Damascus." I was like, "For God's sake, my flight's in a couple of hours. I'm going to miss it." And he's going to send me go do a whole process that normally takes half a day. And oh my God, man, headaches, right? And I was like, "Oh Allah, please, oh Allah, please, do something." And then he's like, "Oh, go on then." He starts from fast forward here, go. Right, I'm sure he broke a few rules. But anyway, so Alhamdulillah, I got out of that one. And then it happened to me a couple of years later as well. But anyway, so Sayyidina Musa sees this, right? And anyone that's been in a situation where you completely, it's like an impossible situation, and all you can do is say, "Oh, Allah, it's in your hands. I can't do anything." And sometimes things go, one way or another, but the end result always works out for you, right? And that's the way it is. So at this point, Sayyidina Musa is full of certainty. No, Kalla, inna ma'iya Rabbi. Indeed, with me is my Lord. Because they're like, it's a lost cause. They're not saying, "Oh, Musa, you're the prophet. Allah won't let you down. We're with you all the way." They've panicked. They've given up already. But Sayyidina Musa is confident. And this is how the believer is. You look back and you see Allah has taken care of so many people in so many impossible situations. Allah will take care of me. أنا عند ظن عبدي بي. I am, as in the Hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was quoted as saying, "I am with my servant as he expects me to be," right? And this is how it is. So he's full of this certainty. Inna ma'iya Rabb. Kalla, stop this. Stop this attitude of, we're going to get caught, right? Inna ma'iya Rabbi. Indeed, with me is my Lord. Sayahdeen. He will certainly guide me. So, uh, uh, and very soon, like momentarily, watch, right? So we see basically what they're saying is we've got all this water in front of us. If you go in, you're going to drown. They're going to chase us into the water. If you stop and fight, we're going to get butchered. What we're going to do? So what happened? فأوحينا إلى موسى أن يضرب بعصاك البحر, and we inspired to Musa, strike with the sea your staff, right? Strike the sea with your staff. فانفلق فكان كل فرق كالطود العظيم, and the sea split. Each part was like a huge mountain. So each top ones, right? وأزلفنا ثم الآخرين, we drew the pursuers to that place. وأنجينا موسى ومن معه أجمعين, and we rescued Musa and all of those with him. ثم أغرقنا الآخرين, then we drowned the others, or moreover, we drowned the others. Less it could be. So وأوحينا إلى موسى أن يضرب بعصاك البحر. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we inspired to Musa, strike this body of water, strike the sea, or the lake, with with your staff, right? So that's the process. That's what he has to do, and it's done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have just made it happen uh, as they approached it, but it's done through actual effort of Sayyidina Musa to show his importance, to show he's the prophet, that it's him who's being given the miracle, right? So he strikes it with his staff, the same staff that was turning to a snake, a serpent in the past, right? It's it's there as a miracle for Sayyidina Musa. And to be honest with you, it's one of the greatest miracles in history, right? One of the greatest miracles in history that will be discussed and remembered until the end of time, right? This group of people who are, almost slaughtered by these tyrants who are following them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused this massive body of water to split, right? And then there are ayat, I haven't quoted them, but there are ayat talking about the ground being dry, right? So literally every bit of water was moved, right? So it's moved, it's parted, it's raised, and كل فرق كالطود العظيم. Now every every each part, where the water had split, the body of water on each side was like a huge mountain, right? Not moving, still, right? It shows that this is not a normal natural phenomenon. This is something, something that is a miracle. What more can you say, right? So he did that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala split the water, split this sea or water. So it split, and uh, each side was like a huge mountain. وَأَزْلَفْنَا ثَمَّ الْآخَرِينَ, and we made the others draw closer. So what they mentioned is that um, the sea was split. Sayyidina Musa led Bani Israel through. When they got to the other side, Sayyidina Musa, as we'll see next time, Sayyidina Musa had this thought that I'm going to strike it again to close it up so they can't follow. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, leave it still as it is, right? Because their punishment was coming. Now, there's a sign in this. Look, you're chasing people, you're trying to kill them for believing in a God who you don't believe in, but they've been getting miracle after miracle. You've been getting sign after sign, but you're still persisting. So eventually it comes, you know. Eventually they get this final reminder. Look. And you can imagine the shock and awe and amazement that they must have felt upon seeing this, but did they care? No. So, final reminder, final chance. Look at this, stop, stop. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does give reminders to people. Look at this, stop, reflect. But no, there's something called hawa, right? Hawa is when you persist on something, you like right, wrong, logic, reason, you know, everything goes out the window. I'm doing this, I don't care. And you just stubborn persistence on something. That was what Fir'awn and his people, were affected by, right? So they dashed through, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ثم moreover أغرقنا الآخرين. We complete, so وأنجينا موسى ومن معه أجمعين. We rescued Musa and everyone with him, right? Because of the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Sayyidina Musa, they were all saved. And he said, and moreover, so that's something tremendous, that Allah's rescued these people from this larger group of tyrants who are better equipped, greater in numbers, able to just decimate them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rescued them. But moreover, what's greater, ثم أغرقنا الآخرين, that we completely drowned the rest of them, right? And so we look at that in more detail next time, inshallah ta'ala, because there are some elements. We look at what happened with Fir'aun when he was drowning, and so we'll continue from there, inshallah. So let's have a quick look at a couple of lessons. So great things often have their roots in lowliness, right? Sometimes before being given honor, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests a person with humiliation, right? Sometimes being given power, before being given power, Allah tests people with powerlessness. Why? This is to see, the great disparity between the two states. So there's more of an opportunity to, for gratitude for Allah, for people to see, like someone that's been starving. If you feed him, he's going to feel more satiation and gratitude than someone that's just not hungry, and then you feed him, right? And and then also with power, it's like you can see, you can empathize, and empathy is one of the greatest qualities you can cultivate in yourself as a human being. That you look at people, you look at their situation, and you put yourself in that situation. And that's how, this is where rahma and shafaqa and these kind attributes that Islam encourages come from, right? So it's someone that's been in power, if he remembers what it was like to be powerless, he's more likely to be good to those beneath him, right? Same with wealth and poverty, right? Sickness and health, all of these things. The opposites are, there's benefits and blessings in them, right? And okay, tyrants are enraged by a lack of total control. We've seen this again and again. And so this is a very important point to understand, that if there's that control element, then if there's any veering left or right, there's That's this is where, how tyrannies work, isn't it? Right? You have a particular set of parameters where you can navigate yourself within, but anything beyond that, it's not permitted. Look, read 1984, George Orwell's 1984. Good. This is the whole thing about the thought police. You can't even think certain things, right? So that kind of attitude. So just understanding these, these. Uh, Behavior tendencies is important. Overconfidence is a weakness. Overconfidence is, the brother of arrogance, right? Because arrogance is, I am great, I am great, right? And I'm better than these people. Overconfidence, you could say ujub, right? Is so arrogance is when it's manifested on others, and ujub is when it's internalized. So, and it leads to overconfidence. I can do this, I can manage that, or whatever. And what do? You overestimate your abilities, you underestimate your opponents, and then what happens? You fall, right? So it's very important to have a level head in any matter, to understand, okay, I might be good, I might be intelligent, I might be skilled. Others can be equally intelligent, good, and skilled, right? And remind yourself of past occasions when Allah's plan worked out best, right? And that's how you get through especially these times where you don't know what's going to happen, and you're stuck and struggling. And one of the hardest things, tests for human beings, is not knowing the future. And because what happens is, because in your mind, well, what about this, what if this happens, what if this happens, and this, and all these things come up in your mind, and it's just like, anxiety, right? People panic. So this is the way you do it, that you look back and say, I got through that, or so and so got through that, and this person, Allah got them through that. It'll work out for me, right? And you might not know how, you might not know when, but that confidence helps a believer through, right? And we ask Allah for tawfiq in all of these matters, right, to do what pleases Him. Right, let's call it a day here, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, the question. Uh, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah bless you too. Barakallah feekum. Okay, great. Right, so we'll continue, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.